everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Keith Stefano, and I'm the COR Program Manager with the Construction Safety Association of Manitoba. Before we begin, if you have not already done so, please type your full name and full company name info to the chat to all participants that are signed in today or in the room with you today. This will allow us to let everyone else know who is attending. If you have any questions during the meeting, we'll be monitoring the chat and answering them as we go. Here's our agenda for today. If you'd like to access a copy, please visit our website, constructionsafety.ca. You'll find it under the COR program page. Right, the introduction of our guests and staff, CSAM staff. I'd like to welcome Carlos Pereira with SAFEWork Manitoba, Darren James from Workplace Safety and Health, who will both be giving short presentations today. Here in the room with me is our COR Administrator, Shelby Haradaway, and our Executive Director, Sean Scott, is with us as well out of our Brandon office today. Hey, first up, under updates and information, as mentioned, we have a short presentation from both SAFEWork Manitoba and Manitoba Workplace Safety and Health. Then we'll cover some frequent asked questions and quality assurance for the 2022 COR and SECOR Harmonized Audit instrument. Then we'll provide an update to our advisor assigned area and our new requests for active Worksites as well. Okay, we'll get going right away here. So first up is Carlos with a presentation from SAFEWork Manitoba. Take it away, Carlos.
All right, can everybody hear me? I'll take that as a yes.
I can hear you, Carlos.
Perfect, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Sorry about the Jets. It was a tough game, but we'll bounce back. We're going to go over a couple of things here. So my name is Carlos. Last name is Pereira. I work for SAFEWork Manitoba. And we're going to go over a little bit of an agenda. So if we can go to the next screen, please. The agenda, what we're going to be covering today is the levy classification code. So I'm going to explain what those are and how many there are and what's there. Some key highlights for 2023. We're going to also go over the quarterly performance indicators for Q1, so for calendar year, January, February, March. We're also going to go over the top 3 industry classification performances for the same quarter. We're going to look at the prevention rebates. We're going to talk a few things about training standards, day of mourning, Safety and Health Week, and our digital campaigns here at SAFEWork. So this slide here, what I've done is I've gathered the data from just the levied classification codes. So these are the classification codes that CSAM has that are levied, that organizations are paying into. There's 19 in total. There's 2 slides with this, but the one I really wanted to show was that there was an addition to the levy classification codes, and that's the fabricating one, which is 31105, and that became levied as of this year. So in here, what we're going to be looking at is the data just retrieved from these levied classification codes. I did pull the data on April 17th, which is stated in the slide there. So we're going to go over sort of some of the information that's there and sort of some of the key highlights. So for the first bit I'm going to talk about is just in regards to 2023, so just kind of a quick overview. And one of the things that I was looking at was in regards to the greatest volume of claims, and that happens to be in your building construction code, which is 40102, which is not surprising. It's one of your biggest ones, so it's not surprising the numbers are the highest there. The age group that actually was the highest amount of claims was your age group of 25 to 34. That is pretty common within industries as well. That age group does see the highest typically amount of injuries. In the industry as a whole, what you were seeing is sprains, strains, and tears as the most common injury. So again, you're going to see the injuries sort of coincide with each other. So the struck by objects is the major injury. So when we're talking about struck by objects, you could be talking about things that are falling, things that are when you're slipping with using handheld tools, things that are flying at you, so flying objects, contact with objects, equipment. So those are things that are classified as struck by. So that's your number one sort of is your major injury event. Parts and material is sort of the most common injury source. So that would be when we classify that, you're going to see nails and bars and plywood materials, drywall. those are the things that are the parts that are happening. So typically what you're seeing here is a strain and strain caused by something being hit by one of these materials. And the occupation that we're seeing the most prevalent in that is in the construction trades and helpers and laborers. So that's the classification code that we classify what we're seeing. So we can go on to the next slide. So what I've done is I've pulled the data in regards to your levied codes. So again, those are the classifications that I showed you up front. There were 19 of them. And what I've done is I've pulled all the data there for the first quarter. So I've done the January, February, March. So that's our calendar year. And you're going to see red numbers there, and you're going to see green numbers. So the red numbers are trending higher than previous quarters, and the green ones are trending lower than previous quarter. So when you look at it, the majority of this is green. So things are going well. I think we're doing things properly here. All claims in general, so this would be time loss claims and no time loss claims. Your Q1 last year was 565, and now we're trending at 507. So that's a good sign. Time loss as well, it's lower as well. And this is where you're typically carrying your costs, would be your time loss claims. And that's about 50% of all your claims are typically time loss. So about 50% of them are time loss claims. We also have a classification there called severe claims. And there's a definition with what severe claims are. And they would be any claim that the WCB would see in regards to 60 days or more of time loss. Anything that meets the definition of workplace safety and health as severe, and that also meets 10 working days. We would classify that as severe claims. This is also another driver as well for costs in the system. And we're seeing this lowering as well here. So Q1 of 2024, we're seeing 51. In 2023 of this time last year, it was 85 claims. So again, trending better. So good work there. MSI claims, we're also seeing that go down as well. So the Q1 2023 was 149, and the 2024 Q1 was 95 days. So again, improvements there. The slight increase that you see there is in your days lost. So again, I do say slight. It's 600, around 600 claims or 600 days lost. So it's not significant, but there is a small trend there of numbers going up. But all in all, it's looking relatively positive for the first quarter of Q1. So now in regards, what I've done is I've pulled information in sort of your top 3 industry classifications. So these 3 classifications alone almost drive 75% of all your claims. So these are the 3 big ones. And in there, you see some green arrows, which represent positive, they're going down, and red arrows showing things that are trending up. So just to break down what I've done here is I've, again, pulled the data for Q1, so January, February, and March, and I've pulled out the data for the building construction industry classification code, the plumbing, insulation, and mechanical plumbing code, and the electrical contracting code as well. And again, these are these 3 industry codes account for about 75% of all your claims. And the numbers here, again, I've put green arrows there showing 205, but the number for 2023 was 241. So again, there's positive news happening there in regards to the building construction. The plumbing, installations, and mechanical for 2024, it was 125, and for 2023 was 102. So again, a slight increase there. Electrical contracting, then these are just the claim side. What you're seeing for Q1 of 2024 is 44, and last year of 2023 was 60. Now the days lost here, this is the one, oh, sorry if we just go back there. The days lost, we have the same rate codes as well, or the industry codes. So building construction, what we're seeing there is a little over 10,000 to almost 10,200 days. So that's a slightly increasing from last year at this quarter, which was 9,600, and that's why you're seeing that increase on the time on the days lost in that previous slide. And the plumbing, insulation, and mechanical is also trending up, from 5,267 to 4,240. So if we can skip to the next one. So the prevention rebates as a whole for 2023, this is accounting for everyone that received a rebate. was in excess of $3.3 million. So it was about 3.38 or something in that number. So a little over $3.3 million, which is great. It's money coming back to members. And if there's any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. Now I'm just going to talk about a little bit about some of SAFEWork's initiatives. One of them is training standards. So I'm just going to give you the metrics of what we've done so far. So currently right now we have 16 training standards, and I'll let you know what they are. So there's one is workplace incident investigation. We have a workplace safety and health committee one, hazard identification, supervisor, working at heights, machine safeguarding, confined space, access scaffolding, excavation and trenching, asbestos awareness, asbestos exposure, asbestos abatement. So these are all standards that are there. They're available on our website. We do have a standard and a provider standard and a course assessment tool as well. And we're constantly accepting applications for people that want to submit their courses and their standards to us so that we can take a look at. So part of the process is we'll set them in. They'll come to our system. We'll review them. And we've done 61 course reviews since we've started this process. And once we have them reviewed, we'll either accept them or bring them back, and there'll be some more work that has to get done to them. And then we'll actually observe them as well. So we'll go down and actually observe the courses in progress, observe the trainers, see if the courses match what was said, just to make sure that everything is acceptable. So we've done 85 of those as well. So that is part of what SAFEWork has done. We've, again, gone out and taken a look at these standards and reviewed them and make sure that they're meeting the standard that we're looking for. And again, we're endorsing them. Okay, if you go to the next slide. And what we're doing is we are currently looking at self-elevating platforms as our next upcoming standard. And we've also looked at, or I don't know if it's in the process of being finalized yet, but safe patient handling is another one as well that we're looking to open up. So those will be the two upcoming ones that are coming up for our training standards group. All right, just to talk about a few other things that are going on in regards to safety. And part of this is our day of mourning. So in Canada, we recognize the day of mourning on April 28th. And it's something that Canada actually started off doing, and other countries have adopted. And on April the 26th, what we're looking here is to do a leaders walk. So if you've never participated in the leaders walk and are interested in doing it, it is actually held at the Union Station or Union Center on Broadway. And we start there, and it's basically a walk to Memorial Park. And it's in regards to people that have unfortunately died at the workplace. And it's a time for reflection and also time to think of what we can do to prevent injuries from happening and again, fatalities. So what's going to happen after we do our walk, there'll be greetings from the Premier, Minister as well, and greetings from the Workers' Compensation Board and MFL. And again, it's a good opportunity to sort of self-reflect. If you've never done it before, I encourage you to participate in it. It's a day of, again, reflection, but it's a day to kind of rejuvenate yourself as well as the good work that we're doing as safety people. And also with that comes the Safety and Health Week, which is going to be kicked off May the 6th to the 11th. So what's happening here is there's opportunities for organizations to run safety and health events, to celebrate safety and health in their workplaces. There is a kickoff at the Canadian Human Rights Museum. It's May the 6th. It's going to start at 8:30. I think the in-person tickets are gone. So it's an 8:30 to 11:30, but I think you can still sign up virtually if you want to attend or witness this. Again, it's an encouraging thing. People are talking about safety and health and encouraging organizations to really focus. And again, it's not just for that week, but it's sort of meant to be an ongoing thing. You want safety and health to be all year round, every day as you work, but it's a real focus to get organizations in tune with safety and health. So there's some events, and again, you can take a look at that. And if you want, please join the meeting. It's happening again May 6th at the Canadian Human Rights Museum, and you can register online. And again, I think the in-person tickets are gone, but the virtual ones are available. If we can just go to the last slide here. This is our digital marketing campaign for SAFEWork. What is happening in the next, well, what's happened in the past and what's happening coming forward. So we've ran 2 campaigns. One of them is the psychological injury campaign, and I'm hoping some of you have seen this. But basically, what we wanted to do is just raise awareness in regards to WCB's coverage of psychological injuries, and we also wanted to get people to promote or for us to start talking and promoting mental health and well-being. This is one of the ongoing topics that we're having here at the WCB, and we're looking to make sure that that's promoted and really raise awareness of what we can do as organizations and resources that are out there. The other bit as well that we've worked on is our training portal. So this is one of our platforms, and what we wanted to do is we wanted to get people to understand and change a little bit of attitudes in regard to safety training, and get people to go onto a portal and sign up for portal training that's available there. And we've just finished that campaign, and I think it's been a success as well. People are interested in understanding what this is, and we've seen people go onto the portal and then go on to some of the training courses as well that are provided there. So that's something that's been pretty positive for both the psychological and the training portal. The next 2 campaigns that we're looking to do is injury reporting and return to work. And those are going to come up probably in the next quarter or 2. And it'll run probably, maybe it'll run more towards the fall, because summertime is sort of a tough time to do campaigns. But we want people to start understanding to report their injuries and just raise awareness there. And also having a return to work program is something that we're looking to get people to raise awareness on and understand that having one of those is something that is good for workers and good for everyone. That's it for me, unless there's any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Carlos. Any questions, as Carlos mentioned? Give everyone a second here in the feed for typing something out. All right. Okay. Again,
Well, thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you very much. Great information. Again, as mentioned, Darren from Workplace Safety and Health will also be giving a presentation here today. So take it away, Darren.
Thanks a lot, Keith. Who's going to move the slides here for me?
We will.
Okay, super. This doesn't look like what I sent you. So what does the next slide look like? That looks right. Okay, super. Thanks. Great presentation, Carlos. Thanks a lot for that. I usually start these presentations with, an amusing anecdote or maybe a joke. Now's not the time for jokes. Things are too dire and too severe. So I just want to say this. I have not lost faith in the Jets. I don't think anybody was expecting us to roll over them in 4 games. Colorado is a good team. As I hold my nose, I still believe, and I'm looking forward to game 3. So keep the faith. I'm a regional manager of the Inspection Services Unit in the Winnipeg region for Manitoba Workplace Safety and Health. Myself and another manager, Jamie McMillan, manage 10 to 12 safety and health officers in the Winnipeg region who do proactive inspections in a number of sectors. And I provide these presentations historically to talk about our inspection statistics and our history over the last period of time. And I think it's a good time for this now because we've just completed our most recent fiscal year reporting period, which runs from April 1st to the end of March. So you're getting our full yearly review in this quarterly review. So we'll just start at the top left corner here. You look at this slide and you can see that we're busy. This is our total number of inspections. In the last fiscal year, we did just over 6,000 inspections. I believe our target was around 5,700 or 5,750. So we exceeded our expectations. We did 1,506 inspections in the last 3 months. So we're busy. We have a lot of work being carried out in a number of different sectors. And then to the right of that, you can see that the percentage of inspections that result in improvement orders, 61% of the time in the last quarter, we wrote in at least one improvement order, which is the observation of a contravention where we've asked the employer to make a change or an improvement and report compliance to us, and we comply the order. So 61% of the time we're writing an order. That tells us we use that measure to determine if we're going to the right places. You can see it's pretty steady over the last several years. If those numbers dropped, we'd be concerned that we're going to the wrong places, because it means that we're doing an inspection and we're writing report forms. We don't drive down the street and bang on doors or ring doorbells. We're statistically driven, and we're strategic in the workplaces that we attend. And these types of numbers tells us that we're going to the places that we're likely to see contraventions. We'll talk more about that in the next slide. Percentage of inspections resulting in stop work orders. Historically, in the last year, we've been around that 6%. 6% of the time, we're writing at least one stop work order. Stop work orders when we observe imminent risk. We believe there's an imminent risk to a worker, and we have the authority to stop work until the unsafe situation is corrected going forward. So the bottom right corner is a slide that talks about our top 10 improvement orders over the last year. I've done the presentation a number of times this week, and I just want to preface this to say, like, we use the top 10 improvement orders as a real tool to measure a number of things, including training of our safety and health officers and identifying gaps in training, where if we see a lot of improvement orders written. Let me rephrase that. What I would like to see in this list is all high risk hazards identified in our top 10 improvement orders. And some people measure this document or this slide to determine if we're doing that. And historically, that might have been a good measure, as we were inspecting a lot of construction and a lot of manufacturing every day. But we've diversified our proactive enforcement strategy to include a lot of other sectors like healthcare and agriculture and retail and you know, not a lot of safeguarding orders written in grocery stores or in restaurants. So we're more likely to see those administrative type programming, safety and health contraventions, such as what we see here. Number one is always safeguards required since the day I started here. A safeguard is required on any machine that poses a risk to workers from either moving parts of the machine or parts of the machine you can cut or hot or etc., and have to be equipped with a safeguard that meets the requirements of a CSA standard. So we write a lot of those, 151 in the last quarter. So I think I said this was a yearly stats. This is the last quarter, 3 months, 151 orders. Then as you go down the list, there's a number of different types of topics listed there, and that duty to provide emergency washing facilities lends more to a programming type of order. As you go down the list, electrical equipment to be protected and properly installed. That may be electrical systems exposed to water, wet conditions, panels not accessible, exposed electrical, terminations not certified by CSA standard by an electrician, etc. Almost 100 of those. 91 times we are dealing with fire extinguishers. We're interested in ensuring that the employer has a harassment prevention policy. It's been developed and implemented. Then the next one is removing a safeguard. This is an important one for us. Should be a priority for you folks as well. This is different than a safeguard required when an employer either didn't know that it required a safeguard, or maybe we had a discussion about that, came to an agreement. Removing a safeguard is when an employer knows or ought to know that this machine needs a safeguard, and maybe even we've been there in the past and wrote an improvement order and said this machine needs a safeguard and the employer has complied. If we show up again in the next period of time and determine that the safeguards have been removed from the machine, I always sort of get on my soapbox a little bit here. This is a high risk hazard. This is knowingly creating an unsafe workplace for another worker. It's almost not my legislation. I almost think that this is somebody that should be reviewed for performing a criminal act. And in the event that somebody was significantly injured, I think an investigation may ask those questions if we find out that if we find out that the safeguard was intentionally removed by somebody. Definitely answer some of those questions at the end. Then you're looking at things like new work orientation, personal protective equipment, posting of harassment policies. There's a lot of different things that make them into the top 10 improvement orders. Next slide, please. So this slide is breaking down where we perform our inspections. So I want to key in on the bottom right corner first. And that's Q4 all serious incidents, and just kind of refer you to that pie chart, and it gives you a breakdown of where we perform our inspections. And when you look at this slide, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, but when you look at the slide on the left, this is a count of serious incidents that we've received at the branch over the last 3 years. In orange, it talks about our last year, and then in the last quarter, we received 143 reports of serious incidents. Serious incident is defined by the Workplace Safety and Health Act, and you can see that the number floats around a little bit, and had a rough month or a rough 3 months in Q2 where there was over 600. So we receive information about serious incidents. It's the employer's responsibility to notify folks to notify us when there's a serious incident immediately by the fastest means of communication possible. And there's a number of other requirements that go along with that. But on the right side there for Q4 all serious incidents, I want you to notice a couple of things, because I'm going to tell you where our enforcement strategies are going in this next quarter. You see the breakdown here. 21% of the serious incidents we determined to be in the manufacturing sector, followed by 19% in retail and services, which really highlights why we do a lot of inspections in that retail and services sector, which some would find not traditionally what you're used to, but it's because of the number of injuries. And then followed by that is the mining sector. Mining sector is a bit of an anomaly. The green piece of pie there, 17%. The mining industry has a little bit different definition of serious incident, which results in them having a little bit more than the rest of the province. But it's there. There's 17% of serious incidents by definition are in mining. And then it's 14% in construction. The next highest is 11% in healthcare. And this is what I want to talk about. 11% of the injuries, of serious incident injuries in the province, happen in the healthcare sector. However, when you look at the top left corner in the slide, that tells you where we're doing our inspections. And largely it follows, we want to be statistically driven, and we want to put our resources where they best serve our mandate to protect workers. 34% of our inspections are done in retail and services, and that floats depending on which proactive project we've deployed at any given time. I only have between 10 and 12 officers on a good day. We're a little bit less than that right now in the process of recruitment and hiring some folks. But 34% of the time is in retail and services, followed by 21% of the time in manufacturing, 21% of the time in construction. All sort of makes sense. But when you look at that healthcare number, we only did 2% of our inspections in healthcare in the last quarter. It doesn't jive with how many serious incidents we're having, so we've increased our presence. We've developed a large healthcare strategy, proactive enforcement strategy that's starting in early May. And it will significantly increase the number of inspections we're doing in that industry. And it sort of tells you how we pattern our proactive activities to match the requirement based on serious incidents. And then contraventions by industry, it looks a lot like the slide on the left. Q4 percentage of contraventions follows that pretty closely. It's not designed that way. There's no correlation, but 35% of our overall contraventions are in retail and services. 24% in construction, 18% in 24% in manufacturing, 18% in construction. But again, only 2% of our contraventions are in that healthcare sector. So it's one of our focuses for the next quarter. Next slide, please. Talk just quickly about our client services area. Client services is when you call Workplace Safety and Health and have a question or a comment, or you want to raise a tip about your workplace, report an incident, talk about a serious incident that may have happened, or a work refusal. When you call 957 SAFE and triage over to Workplace Safety and Health, you'll be speaking with a safety and health officer with full credentials. So they're often able to answer a lot of questions on a lot of different topics, and they're certainly our most versatile people in the branch by a mile. Total number of calls in the last year, almost 6,000 calls, 1,400 of those in the last quarter. The phone's ringing a lot. And add to that 1,300 emails in the year, 300 in a given quarter. I'm told that we also measure the amount of time that we spent on a call and where that call goes and the successfulness of that call. And there's industry standards that are able to measure how we're doing. Apparently, we're doing very, very well on our management of both calls and emails from a customer service standpoint. So I know our client services branch is proud of that unit. Sorry. Bottom left corner is a number of reprisals over the last year and the last 3 years previous. A reprisal is a section of our legislation, used to be called discriminatory action. Essentially, it says nothing bad can happen to a person for trying to do the right thing. And more specifically, it's about that nobody may take a reprisal against anybody who's exercising a right or a duty under the act. They're serious. This is the fundamental threshold of workplace safety and health and the formation and how we understand internal responsibility. It says that if something's going on in the workplace, you deal with it there. And it says to anybody who with a responsibility that if you see a hazard or there's something wrong, you have that right as a worker to raise and know about those hazards in the workplace to your employer or to your supervisor, to a lead hand without fear of reprisal. And this is how many we dealt with over the last year when that happens. The numbers are coming down. They used to be almost unmanageable in previous years. There's a number of reasons for that. Some of them are related to COVID. But in the last quarter, we received 6 complaints of reprisal, and they're all investigated either by an incident response unit officer or an inspection services unit officer. I'm glad to see those numbers coming down. However, I still think it's a problem. And I editorially, I truly believe that an employer who knows about reprisal legislation and the potential consequences and the costs associated, which are really, they're significant. I think if more employers knew about the terms of reprisal, that we probably see less of these, because once they've happened and once they get investigated and some of the consequences of an actual reprisal, and not all of them turn out to actually be a reprisal, there has to be that connection between a worker exercising a right, such as reporting a safety concern, and something bad happening to them. And if there isn't that nexus, it's not a reprisal. But when it is significant. And I think that there'd be less of those if once an employer is into that situation and they find themselves in that situation, I think they're eager to develop systems to prevent that from happening in the future. And it's really simple. It's just a matter of accepting the complaint and dealing with the complaint on its face. You know, we're not talking about frivolous complaints, but when a complaint or a concern or a hazard is raised in good conscience, it needs to be followed up, and it's simple to do that. And where it's not founded, the employer can make their response to the employer or to the employee, and then they have other rights that they could follow if they don't agree with your decision. It's way easier than getting into a situation where somebody's fired or something bad happens to them for trying to do the right thing. We can talk more about that if anybody has any questions. I'll make sure that everybody has my email address before I leave. But the last slide is on appeals, and those numbers have also come down in the last quarter. But I've talked about this to death at this meeting. If you've been here before, you've heard it. I'll just summarize. If you feel that you've been unfairly issued an improvement order or subject to a decision of a safety and health officer, it's okay to appeal. You have a right to appeal. The explanation and the instructions is on every one of our documents that's issued to an employer, whether it's an improvement order or a report form. Anybody affected can call us and file that appeal. I can tell you we don't have any heartburn about anybody writing an appeal. I can tell you this, that our appeal numbers are artificially low. I could tell you that we have world-class numbers based on 6,000 improvement orders or 10,000 improvement orders in a year. The numbers of appeals that we have, I could say we hardly ever get appealed, and we're proud of that, but I'm not. I believe that we don't receive appeals sometimes because of different reasons. So I just want to tell this group, we learn from our appeals, no heartburn. Nothing bad will ever happen because you've appealed, and I can assure you that when there's an appeal at the branch, regardless of whether we win it or we lose it, every one of my officers knows about the appeal. They know what the issue is, and they know where it went sideways, and they know how it turned out because we learn from that. That's almost our it's almost the only component of our quality assurance ability here is when somebody says this isn't right, I can promise you we learn from that. So appeals can be filed to the Director of Workplace Safety and Health within 14 days of the document, and we'll even take them after that if we believe that there's a decent reason for why I may have been late. Next slide. real quickly, over the last year, there was 4 convictions. This is when there's a full report sent up to the Crown based on an incident or something that's happened, serious injury. Those numbers fluctuate a little bit, but last year there was 4. There was 5 administrative penalties issued in the last year, and that's when either an employer hasn't maintained compliance with an improvement order or they've received a contravention in a prescribed provision, or they haven't complied by a compliance date. These are the employer is still required to comply with the improvement order, but where they haven't met the conditions of the improvement order, they can be issued administrative penalty. It can be $2,500 each time. And I'll use the remove safeguard example. If I see the guard on the floor this time, we may talk about it, write an improvement order. The next time I attend, if the guard's on the floor again, instead of on a machine, it might be a remove safeguard. The third time we attend and find that the safeguard is not being maintained and enforced by the employer, there's where your administrative penalty likely be issued. That's $2,500. And if it's found again within the next 3 years, it could be $5,000. We don't do a lot of them, and that's good. But it's important for folks to know that that system is there. And then work refusals, bottom left, last slide, where a worker believes that the work that they've been asked to do poses a danger to them. So not a risk, not an imminent risk. It's not unsafe. It's where the work is dangerous. The worker believes the work is dangerous. The employer's work refusal system triggers, and the employer responds. And if the employer doesn't satisfy, or the supervisor doesn't satisfy the refusing worker, the committee's involved. And if they can't refuse it, if they can't satisfy the worker who's refused in that second step, then we're called. We don't get a lot of them. And when we do, the system has to be followed up until the 3rd point before we will attend, unless there's a real significant reason. And in the last quarter, we did 2 of those. So there's not a bunch, but workers, part of your orientation program is to ensure that all your folks know when they're hired and routinely throughout their time with you to make sure that they understand that they have the right to refuse and the system that you use for that. So that's it. That's my presentation. Oh, okay. I forgot about this, and this is good. This is good. So I'll try to summarize. We've currently deployed a transient construction proactive strategy to allow us to perform inspections in industry classifications that we consider high-risk industries based on the amount of lost time and overall injuries they have in comparison to other industry classifications. And these are 7 or 8 industry classifications that we find it really hard to inspect because they're transient and the workplaces move around. And rather than just driving around looking for them, we've often tried to strategize through industry classification lists, but we found it's not very effective. So we wanted to go back to something we've done in the past where we've assigned a number of officers that are specifically performing inspections in this project. And it's based on these industry classifications. So they're interested in looking at workplaces that are doing excavations and looking for those types of things like serial numbers for the excavator, making sure the excavator is registered and there's proper supervision, et cetera, et cetera. I realize this is the CSAM group. Excavations are more generally related to Manitoba Heavy. However, that's one of our focuses, as is roofing, stucco, framing, and drywall in residential construction. So when officers see that kind of work being performed, they'll stop and conduct inspections depending on the size of the project and the risks observed. Same thing in concrete work, sewer and water, also Manitoba Heavy sort of classifications, but also in landscaping, which is CSAM. We're looking for large landscaping projects where there could be young or vulnerable workers or using machinery or chemicals or pedestrian vehicular traffic. Window cleaning is another one. We can see where they're working, but we don't end up doing a lot of inspections in window cleaning. However, they have one of the highest lost time and overall injury rates in the province. And they pay a lot of money to WCB based on the number of premiums in their industry classifications. So we're interested in doing proactive inspections for the window cleaning group. We're not looking for the folks that are cleaning the windows at max. We're looking for the folks that are cleaning the windows in the building behind me with swing stages and boat swing chairs and those types of things. And it's hard to make contact with those folks. So we're going to be strategic that way as well. But you'll likely, if you're in an organization that does window cleaning, you'll see us more this year. As you will if you're involved in tower or energy construction, installing metal products, wrecking and moving buildings, and maybe one more in the film industry. Not necessarily construction, but it's also very transient and moves around. It's hard for us to find them to do inspections. The very last thing, and I know I don't have a slide for this, do I? Next slide. No. So just before I wrap up, Carlos talked about injuries in total injury claims in construction with respect to building construction, plumbing, insulating, and mechanical and electrical contracting. I just want to say the two of those three classifications, plumbing, insulating, mechanical, and electrical contracting, are subject often to Apprenticeship Manitoba requirements concerning appropriate supervision ratios between journey persons and apprentices and scope of work. Compulsory trades in the province include construction electrician, mobile crane operator, boom truck hoist operator, tower crane operator, industrial electrician, refrigeration and air conditioning mechanic, sprinkler system installer, and steam fitter or pipe fitter. Those are compulsory trades. In order to perform the work in the province, you have to either be a journey person or you have to be a registered apprentice. If you're not one of those two, you can't work in those industry classifications or those occupations. And Workplace Safety and Health will be conducting inspections in those industry classifications over the next 2 months to make contact with employers who do that kind of work, to confirm that they're doing compulsory trade work, and then to ensure that they have appropriate journey persons to apprentice ratios. Right now, the Manitoba requirement is that there's at least one journey person for every 2 apprentices on site, unless they're in the last year of their apprenticeship. And that's changing. Before the end of this calendar year, it's going to be changing back to what it previously was, to 1 journey person for every 1 apprentice. So we're preparing for that. We're building awareness in the industries that are employing compulsory trades, and we'll be doing inspections to ensure those supervision ratios and scope of work is observed. That's my presentation. There's my email address, my phone number, and happy to take any questions either here, or you can follow up after the meeting. Thanks for your time.
Awesome. Awesome information as well. Thank you, Darren. Do we have any questions?
So I see a question here from Dave. Why don't safety inspectors write up inspection reports when a company is doing all the right things on a site? They only write reports when a company has an infraction.
Yeah, thanks for your question. Respect your opinion, not accurate. We will write an improvement order if we find a contravention, but if my folks attend and do an inspection, they can't leave without writing a document. So if they find no contraventions, you get a report form. And that report form will outline a discussion and who we met with. It'll observe some of the things that we talked about, and ultimately it's going to say no contraventions noted, no further actions required, something to that effect. And I always say, you know, that report form that goes on the wall. And I know if I'm the manager in that workplace, I'm bringing everybody together and recognizing that is good work. For me, it's almost pizza day. But that report form is an indicator that we were there, did an inspection, and didn't observe any contraventions. So that's the good news document.
I have another question here from Tanya. Is it expected to have more visits if we are listed under, I think she means under the proactive enforcement strategy?
So on our website, we list all of the industry classifications that we are focusing on based on statistical data available from WCB. It's good information. It's on our website under enforcement strategies, and it's our high-risk industry classification, or our group of workplaces. That group of employers can expect to see a safety and health officer in the next year. We focus on the workplaces that best serve our mandate to protect workers. And also we spend more time in workplaces that appear to not have systems in place to protect workers. So you'll be inspected. I don't want to say for sure, because it's also data driven within an industry classification, but if you're in one of those industry classifications, you can expect an inspection. And if we write a number of high risk improvement orders today, you can expect to see an officer follow up with another inspection within the next 4 to 8 months to ensure ongoing compliance with those improvement orders.
Awesome. It looks like I have one more from Dayton. Working at heights, are there planned changes to revise the 3-meter requirement in the regulation?
Nothing that I'm aware of. The current act and regulation review is underway. I know that there was 400 recommendations, has been drilled down to around 250 or so, and I think Sean may know the exact numbers, and he may be able to answer the question. I don't know if they've received a recommendation to reduce the threshold for fall protection requirements in the province. But it's 3 meters or less than 3 meters if another hazard exists, posing a greater risk where the worker may be falling, such as into water, onto machinery, or moving equipment, etc. Nothing that I'm aware of. Sean, are you aware? Maybe he's not here.
Oh, it's okay. We'll give Sean a chance to answer in a little bit.
Sure.
Awesome. Any other questions? All right. Okay. Well, thanks, Darren, for that all that information today. That was great. And just for everyone that is in attendance here, just a reminder, and I'll remind everyone again at the end that this whole presentation for the COR meeting will be available on our YouTube channel in the next 2 weeks or so. So stay tuned for that as well. So once again, thanks, Darren, for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
All right. Next on the agenda is the Harmonized Audit Instrument, the frequent asked questions. We've done a more thorough review the last few meetings, but since the audit has been implemented for over a year now, I wanted to cover some of the frequent asked questions and some reminders when submitting an audit to CSAM. Question 1, what does the audit say 2022? Is this the audit year? Can I submit this for my 2024 audit? So the 2022 refers to the audit tool version, not the year you're submitting. You may notice our online audit tool, any past submissions with that said 2018 as well. But again, this is the year that everything was updated. So rest assured that both the online audit tool and the paper version are the most recent one and will be accepted for the audit submission moving forward. Okay. Question 2, I don't have hazardous identification and risk control training. What do I do? So this question is asked most of the times just before a client, client is filling in their for compulsory training section and while conducting the audit for their company. So every company that's achieved COR certification before the course requirements were changed from the trainers that hazard identification and risk controls are grandfathered in and can still use the trainer credentials for this field. Okay, all companies are still welcome to take the hazard identification risk control training if you prefer, but it is not mandatory. Now, again, remember, this is for companies that achieved the certification before the Harmonized Audit Instrument was updated. Okay. We also wanted to include some reminders here on some trends we've noticed recently with a lot of our audits. So some reminders here. First off, as noted in our quality assurance guidelines, a minimum 1 full-time employee of the company must have the 4 required training competencies or 3 for competencies for SECOR. It is responsibility of the company to ensure that at least 1 full-time employee has the training and everyone employed by the company and anyone from the company may take the courses as well. Any lapses in training requirements must be addressed prior to the audit submission. Okay, this responsibility is mentioned of the companies, and also as well with these courses, they do not expire. So someone took it 10 years ago, it still would work for the audit when submitting it for this year. Okay. One other thing that's important to remember with this is you cannot use consultants or outside organizations that may be completing the audit on your company's behalf, training for your company. Okay, only full-time employees must be listed in the competency session for our area of the audit instrument for training. If you're unsure or who has all the required training for your company, you can access your a list of your company's training records on our client portal, or just contact us directly and we'll send you a copy of your training records. So you can email either Shelby or myself after this meeting and we will get it done for you.
So there is a question here from an anonymous attendee. Harmonized audit FAQ. Is it possible to have a checklist published in the audit of all the paperwork needed to be physically submitted when it is a maintenance year / self-audited by the company? We always do a completed audit just in case. However, we had called CSAM asking what papers needed to be delivered. After delivery, we learned we didn't bring enough and we didn't bring the safety culture assessment because we weren't verbally told to do so. Thank you.
Okay, with the audit instrument, if you picked up a paper copy, it actually tells you what's required for a full audit, but it also requires, with the audit instrument, just tells you what documentation is required to be submitted when doing, again, the recertification. Now, verification years, all we need to see is the completed audit instrument that you've done internally now when submitting an audit. Now, when you talk about the culture assessment actually is a requirement every single year, where it's a verification or recertification year.
I have a couple more questions coming in here as we're chatting. From Daniel, performing an audit for our company using the online audit tool. Notice that this notation on the website for maintenance years, do I need to upload documents for the online audit tool? Supporting documentation for maintenance audits is no longer required if the audit is completed by a registered auditor. You only need to complete the audit instrument, including corrective action plan. If you would like us to review the document, I'm just going to skip. It's a long-worded question here. In short, to answer your question, yes, when you're using the online audit tool, if you choose a maintenance audit, there is still the option to upload files within that audit, like as a report itself. It just made it easier. So if someone had accidentally chose a maintenance year and realized that it was a recertification year, they could add the documents as well. If you don't have your registered auditor status, which again is separate from just taking principles of safety management and safety auditor training, but if you don't have your registered auditor status and it is a maintenance year, you do need to supply all the supporting documentation, and you can still do so within a maintenance audit, quote unquote, within the online audit tool. And I think that is all of our questions.
All right. Continuing on here. So the last question here, last part of the slide, sorry, is secondly, you must have active work sites at the time of your audit submission for a minimum of 2 weeks. Now, it's important to remember when you're submitting the audit. We have had audits in the past that are submitted that unfortunately they finished up work and then submitted the audit. It's hard for us, it's impossible for us to finish our portion of the audit if you don't have active work sites. So, and CSAM will accommodate sites that are ending soon, or we can always postpone the audit within reason, obviously, if active work sites are not available, but then they're coming up in the next couple of weeks or anything like that. So just let us know if that ever happens. We will definitely work around the schedule and make it work for everybody. Okay. Also, you can submit the audit 3 months early without penalty, or changing your audit submission deadline.
Sorry, just one more question here from Daniel again. He's completing a maintenance audit, but he's asking, do I check the boxes regardless of whether we're supplying the documentation? I typed in an answer, but it's a good question. Yes, you're still, as if it was a paper audit, you would still give yourself points for that documentation if you have it and if it's applicable for you, but you don't have to upload the documents. We just made it look the same. So if you're in a maintenance or if you're in a recert and need to upload the documents, the option is still there.
Yeah, and that's also important to bring up that even though we are not asking for documentation on those verification years, just the recertification years, we will be want to see some of that documentation when we come out to do our audit as well. So don't need to supply it to us, need to have it readily available. Perfect. Thanks, Daniel. All right. Any other questions on that? Moving on to the next slide here. New requests for active work sites. So what we've done here is we created a new automated request for active work sites job form. Some of you have probably already received this, but we wanted to let everyone know that this is a new system and it's legit. It's not spam email. We've created a new email that is automatically sent to the company contact upon receiving your audit, along with your audit submission receipt. There is a link inside the email that will lead you to a jot form to complete. So simply just click on the link provided and follow and fill it out from there. Okay, so this will ensure that information is directed to the appropriate CSAM staff for optimal coordination of your work sites. We ask that you do not just reply to the email, but use the electronic link form and just click on the form and use that form. Okay, just again, it makes it easier to go to the appropriate CSAM advisor, assigned CSAM advisor. Okay, also with this list, please include all active work sites for the next 2 weeks from the date of your audit submission. There'll also be an option on the jot form to indicate if your company does primarily service work. We will ask that you just give us the contact information we require, and we'll, prior to us coming out, we'll obviously call and arrange the visit that day. And that's also important to remember that still with this system, we will have some of your sites, well, it's great to have your sites beforehand, but we'll always call the acting supervisor on that site before showing up. So that has not changed. So don't worry about that at all.
So I've had a few questions here, just asking what you were just explaining. So for Tanya, Trina, and Kristen, yes, there is an option at the very top of that form. Once you click the link, to click a box to say, yes, I am a service provider, and we still just want the supervisor's name and phone number. And there's an option to put in comments there as well. It just allows us to have that information go to the correct people at the right way, if you will. So everyone's informed of your sites if you do have kind of stationary sites within the next 2 weeks of submitting your audit, so we know where to go. As well, there was a question here from Monica, just before, I think related to our previous slide, but just to clarify, for verification audits, only the instrument pages and the assessment section 16. So I'm going to assume you mean for maintenance year audits, you're not supplying the supporting documentation. So you're still reviewing it, you're still doing your observation and interviews, you are still doing your safety culture assessment, that section quote 16, if you will. You're still including your corrective action plan, executive summary, if those happen to be separate documents for you. But you do not need to upload your policies, your procedures, your hazard assessment examples, stuff like that within the audit sections. That's if you have your registered auditor status. So if you're not sure about that, or what the audit year is, or if you have your status, or if someone else has their status, feel free to send myself or Keith an email after this meeting, and we can look up that information for you.
Yeah, very important. We'll say that. I'll say that a few more times too. Always email us if you're not too sure afterwards or want more clarification with any information we are giving out to you here today. Okay, moving on here with the next slide, 2022 COR SECOR Harmonized Audit Instrument under our quality assurance here. So as I mentioned earlier, the 2022 COR SECOR Harmonized Audit Instrument has been implemented for just over a year now, and we wanted to look at some data regarding the new audit to help ensure a smooth transition and to best assist our companies moving forward. We reviewed the data and have compiled a list of the top 5 questions where points have been lost in all audits from 2023. Top 5 questions where points were lost, with approximately 62% of COR audits and 77% of SECOR audits, was 15.8. Does the company have a hearing conservation program? Now, this is a 5-point documentation only question. And it is interesting actually to note that this is not a new question. It's actually was one of the top 5 questions where we lost points in the previous audit version at 51%, and that was the audit version from 2019 to 2021. But I believe it's the way the question's broken down where the issue actually comes up here. So let's just go over some of the information here. But first off, the guideline reads, a hearing conservation program should be developed for each company based on employee exposure. The program should be written and communicated to employees. It should include elements with respect to sight sound monitoring, oculometric testing, hearing protection, and training for employees. So point systems broken down like this. 1 point is based on the creation of a hearing conservation directive or policy. 2 points based on documentation and support of biannual, so it's every 2 years, of oculometric testing for employees. And then 2 points based on documentation support of worksite sound monitoring. Okay, so now to achieve full points in this section, this question, I should say, you'll need to, 1, create and provide a hearing conservation policy. 2, conduct and complete the biannual hearing test company-wide. And the third one is, and this is where a lot of people do get hung up on it, on this question of receiving full points, is conduct sight sound monitoring tests by using approved noise dosimeter. CSAM, at CSAM here, we rent these for free of charge to all our members. I'm going to elaborate on the dosimeters coming up in the next slide here, so stay tuned for that as well. But we do have them here. So, an important side note to this question, where people have lost points, where they believe they have done and submitted enough for this question, is they've been using the sound site monitoring apps on smartphones. And unfortunately, those will not be accepted as those are not accurate. When you sign in or download one of those, it actually says they are for entertainment purposes only. So they will not work, and we will not accept those for points for part of this question. So keep that in mind. Okay, so that's the first one question there. Now the second question, where points were lost, was approximately 43% of COR audits and 47% of SECOR audits, was 12.4, our leading and lagging performance measured. Now, 2-point documentation only question. So when looking at data from our previous audit version, this was not a question that the companies frequently lost points on, nor is it a new question to the audit. However, the wording of the question was changed, which I believe is actually the main reason why a lot of these companies have lost points in this area. So leading indicators are proactive measures that prevent efforts and can be observed and recorded prior to any injury. Some examples of leading indicators would be root causes and near misses, percentage of inspections, or behavior-based safety observations completed at a job site. Okay, while the flip side of that, lagging indicators are reactive measures that track only negative outcomes, such as an injury once it has already occurred. Lagging indicators include injury statistics such as frequency rates, days lost, and injury severity. WCB assessment rates may be an associated indicator with this as well. Investigation outcomes and incident reports can also be considered as lagging indicators. The ideal document now with this question to include would show how annual analysis of safety and health performances are. So example would be a comparison of the number of first aid, medical aids, lost time, and near miss incidents, and identifying these needs or trends. Okay, so simple questions, it's still the same as the old audit, just worded a little bit differently there. Well, with any of these questions here, and obviously I got 3 more I'm going to go over here, but just keep in mind that your assigned safety advisor will be happy to come out and go over some of these, any of these questions for you and where you've lost points. And we do have examples on our website under the training resource page that you can look at as well to help you with some of these questions you lost. Not even these 5 questions, but any other documentation questions that you've lost. We do have that example or an example on the website for you.
There is a question here. Sorry, Keith. Again, from anonymous attendee. If hearing tested is not required, are we allowed to give full marks even if we don't do the hearing testing?
With the audit itself and the way it works, and now that's nationally, it's a harmonized, national and harmonized audit. We will, unfortunately, cannot give those points based on that. You will have to do that to get the full points in regards to those questions. So. All right. So moving on here, next 3 questions were where points were lost, with approximately 35% of all COR and SECOR audits were questions 14.5, 11.10, and 15.3. 14.5, does the company have a criteria for the selection, evaluation, and procurement of products that have the potential to create a hazard? So 2-point documentation only question. So the guideline reads for this one, award points based on verification that the company has a process that considers the impact of safety and health when selecting products with the potential to create a hazard. An example could include adding a statement to your subcontractor declaration that mentions something something like this. Basically, as required by all contractors of the company in question, we will procure all hazardous products with the intent of managing the health and safety of all workers working with those products, This will include, but not limited to, ensuring that all hazardous products, as well as building materials where their risks have been identified, are accompanied by appropriate safety and health data sheets and safe work procedures. Now, again, I read the example out. We do have it on our website under the training data area as well for that question. Question 11.10, have emergency response plans been tested for deficiencies and corrective actions taken? 2-point documentation only question. Guideline reads, verify through documentation that emergency plans have been tested as per company policy or legislative requirements. Records must indicate the results of the tests and that corrective actions were taken to correct deficiencies. So the document we're looking for this question here is a copy of the results of the emergency response plan tested, has it been tested for the company, and it has corrective actions taken to correct any deficiencies. So a fire drill, chemical spill, response test, that type of thing is what really, all you really need to supply for that, as long as you're showing you've corrected deficiencies for that. Okay. Last but not least here, the last one is 15.3, have safety committee members, workers, safety representatives received any training on how to carry out their duties and responsibilities? So it's a 4-point question, 2 for documentation and 2 for interviews. So the guideline reads, safety committee members, workers, safety representatives are required to receive training specific to their duties as outlined in Workplace Safety and Health Act, as well as training on how to effectively carry out their duties. Safety committee members or workers, safety representatives must be able to communicate and understand their legal duties and responsibilities. So with this one here, it's broken down to, like I said, 2 points based on documentation that verifies committee members and or worker safety representatives have received training or adequate training, and 2 points based on majority of positive interview responses. So documentation part of this, what would be looking for would be 2 to 4 copies of completed members safety representative training records. An example of this would be a participant taking the CSAM's Safety and Health Committee and Worker Safety and Health Rep course is a perfect example. However, you can also, if you're doing internal training on safety reps, or you're getting it by another accredited company of any kind, to show us the certificate that someone has taken that training, obviously that'll also be accepted. An interview portion of this question asks, tell me briefly what your legal duties and responsibilities are. Simple answer is to participate in hazard assessments, inspections, or investigations, and to help mitigate any safety and health issues that may arise. So you're the middle person between management and the workers, if you're a worker safety rep or community. Okay, so any questions with these top 5? I know we've gone over, we've had questions as we went, which is great. Obviously, we'll have some more, we'll get some more time at the end, and you can always email us after the fact. That is not an issue. And we also, as a reminder, your assigned safety advisor can always come out and help you at any time with any information, any questions you have. So, any further questions, or are we okay?
All right, so we do have a couple questions here. We'll give it a minute as well. So Doug asked, what is the percentage for 15.8 and 12.4? So let me look here in our notes. 1 second, sorry. So for 15.8 in the new harmonized audit instrument from the last year, we looked at just data from 2023, 62% of COR audits and 77% of SECOR audits lost points for that question specifically. And if we're looking at data from 2019 to 2021, that was an average of 51% of all the audits that were submitted. So more than half of the audits that were submitted are losing points and were losing points on this question quite consistently. So it's not a new thing or a new trend to say. For 12.4, the data from this past year, 2023, 43% of COR audits and 47% of SECOR audits. So getting up to that almost 50% mark had lost points for a 12.4. And then there is another question here from an anonymous attendee. Who is responsible to enforce the wearing of PPE and safeguards?
That's a good question. It's actually responsibility really of the supervisor of the company. So you got to make sure that when you're out there as a supervisor, as a company, you must enforce that, especially when it's a requirement. And then that goes back to now the dosimeter testing that we have here. And again, slide coming up in regards to that right away, but just make sure that if you're doing these testings and they're exposed to the same, like a skill saw or something like that consistently, make sure that the hearing protection is used, and to get an accurate reading of that, you use the dosimeter, and they know. And then again, works back to your question. Enforcing it is up to the supervisor, making sure, having a toolbox talk, any other training sessions needed. CSAM's always happily willing to come out and do a training session in regards to any type of hearing conservation program you'd like, or anything else for that matter. Okay. All right. So moving on here to the, as I mentioned earlier, the dosimeter review. So going back to the first question there, 15.8, where points were lost by individuals in regards to the dosimeter testing. We do have dosimeters here to rent, so part of the guidelines in the CSAM audit is for the dosimeter testing. So at CSAM, with these dosimeters, they do meet the requirements. Okay, we lend them out to companies for 7 days at a first come, first served basis. So once returned to CSAM, we do download these results and send them out via email to the company. CSAM will accept dosimeter results current within the last 3 years for SECOR and COR audits. Okay, we've noticed some common issues with there's companies borrowing this lately. So we just, again, another reason why we wanted to talk about this today. Okay, any single tests that are within less than 4 hours will not be saved on the dosimeter. So that's very important. Companies do send us tests within an hour, 2 hours. Unfortunately, that's not saved. Minimum requirement is 4 hours before we can say it can be saved and be an accurate reading. Okay. Try not to drain the battery when using the dosimeter. Must be turned off after each test and returned to us while there's still at least a little battery life left. If it's returned to us with no battery life, there's a chance that it may not save the results from your testing. And unfortunately, that's just one of the minor flaws with these tools sometimes with these dosimeters. We reviewed, we've received, I should say, several back here lately that have been damaged or recent and have not, and we've been fairly forgiving with it. However, since these are in high demand and when it comes down to it, from all our companies needing it, and we're really one of the we're the cheapest place to go when you want to use these dosimeters. We're going to start. We're going to have to start enforcing a $75 a day late fee, and if any damage has occurred on them, we will have to start charging for that, because it does put a dosimeter out of service, and it does backlog us a bit. We don't want to do that to obviously all our members. So please, when you're out there with these, they can take a lot of abuse, but please be as careful as you can with them. Okay. And lastly, with these dosimeters as well, if you'd like to reserve one, call the Brandon office or the Winnipeg office at least 2 days in advance, or even longer in advance, and we'll put you down on the list and make sure that you get one when you do need it. Okay, so very important with that.
So I do have a question here from Darcy. So we have to have dosimeter testing at least every 3 years.
Yeah, for the audit purposes, yes, you do, and it's also good information just for yourself to see where you're standing with your hearing conservation program overall. All right.
Well, one more, sorry.
Oh, sure.
From Daniel, for the dosimeter testing, our crews are on multiple sites in a day for approximately 45 minutes to an hour in each average day. So the 4-hour minimum per recording doesn't seem to be an accurate metric of exposure for our employees.
That's actually a great question. With the dosimeter itself, when you do start a test, or when an employee starts a test, if they're going from site to site, that's no problem. You start it. When you get to site in the morning, you let it run all day. When you're in the vehicle moving from one site to another, you continue to let it run. Now, the onus goes back on the company a bit when running these tests to actually keep track of what you're exposed to during that day, because when you go to the next site, obviously the exposure levels will then be raised based on the equipment you're using, the tools you're using, and so forth. Now, it's again, works back to the company. That results you keep with yourself, and when you get the results from CSAM, you can actually look at the chart and you can actually see what you're exposed to and what times of day you're exposed to and what levels you're actually exposed to. Now that is these forms do come with the dosimeter to fill out, so they're simple to fill out forms that any worker can do while they're on site using this dosimeter throughout the day. Okay.
A couple more questions here. Again, from an anonymous attendee, be sure that the criteria and level on the dosimeter conforms with the limit adopted in the WS&H regulation.
Yeah, correct. These do actually meet that. We do update them, review them all the time or before they go out actually each time.
And another question from Kara. We have mandatory hearing protection requirements. Do we still need to do dosimeter testing?
For the audit purposes, yes, to receive those 2 points, you should have that type of testing done. Now, again, we're not telling you have to. You just, if you don't want to do it, I mean, that's up to you. But you will lose the points on the audit for not having those results in there. It's part of the National Harmonized Audit Instrument now.
Second.
Okay, moving on to the next slide here, update advisor assigned areas. So on the screen here, you're seeing a map of the assigned areas that are updated here. Silver is in red on the top of the screen, or on the screen itself, I should say, and on the top of the Manitoba part of the map. So what Silver will be covering now is everything north of the Assiniboine River and west of the Red River in Winnipeg. So this includes Seven Oaks, Inkster, downtown, and St. James area. Rurally, he'll be covering everything west of number 9 and north of number 1 highway, west part north of number 1 highway. Laura is in purple on the map. She'll continue to cover anything east of the Red River and north of Archibald, as well as East Kildonan, so east of the Red River in Winnipeg. Her rural assignment hasn't changed and includes everything east of Highway 1 and north of Highway 15. And last but not least, Ray is on the bottom there in green. He'll continue to cover everything south of the Assiniboine River, south of Archibald. His rural assignment still has remained, is pretty much relatively the same. He'll continue to cover everything south of Highway 15 and south of number 1 west. So with this updated map as well, if you're unsure of who your assigned advisor is or area, I mean, we use the areas off of where your office is, not where your job site is, to have your actually assigned advisor for your company. So, but if you're not sure, again, we're here, give us a call, email Shelby, myself, we'll give you the assigned advisor for that, for your area, wherever your company is. All right. Any other questions on that?
I see one here, again, from an anonymous attendee. If dosimeter testing is required every 3 years, and we did it last year, do we get points for this audit?
Yes. As long as you submit the documentation, if it's a documentation review, yes. If it's a verification review, don't need to see the documentation, you give yourself points. Perfect. Okay. CSAM activity update. Right, so for 2023, CSAM has had 29 new core companies, 10 new COR companies, and 64 new core equivalencies. CSAM has completed 578 audits and verification reviews, 317 independent audits, and 211 site assessments. We ended 2023 with a total of 955 COR and SECOR certified companies. So far in 2024, we have 10 new core companies, no new SECOR companies as of yet, and 15 new core equivalencies. We've completed 194 audits and verification reviews, 85 independent audits, and 21 site assessments, giving us really a good head start on 2024. We currently have a total of 962 COR and SECOR certified companies. Quality assurance. For 2023, CSAM completed 211 site assessments. 173 of those had no action required. 38 had corrective actions, and none required a spot audit or spot audits. That's about 82% of site assessments that required no further action. So great job to our COR companies, ensuring that core standards have been met out in the field. So far in 2021, CSAM has completed 21 site assessments. 17 of those had no action required. 4 had corrective actions, and 0 have had spot audits as of yet this year. Let's hopefully keep that trend going. So that's 81% of site assessments that require no further action. And again, great job at those core, or for all the core companies out there, ensuring that their standards have been maintained. All right, next is new COR and SECOR certified companies. So since our last meeting, CSAM has certified 20 new COR and SECOR companies. I'm going to let Shelby read their names off here.
So congratulations to A&R Epoxy Flooring Limited, ACV Sewer and Water Inc., A Post Aluminum Fabricators Inc., Arms Electrical Limited, B Clean or Korea Enterprises Limited, Carrington Custom Homes Inc., Carrington Projects Inc., Dremel Builders Limited, Emmett Leo Homes Limited, Gabler Welding Limited, Iceman Snow Removal and Landscaping, JLV Enterprises Inc., MPE, a division of Englobe Corp., Muckwa Enterprises Inc., Petrotech Petroleum Services Limited, Rock Base Construction Inc., Strata Mechanical Services Inc., Westgate Enterprises Limited, and Winnipeg Dig and Demolition Inc.
Right. Congratulations to all our new companies, certified companies. Next, COR Certified Milestones. So since our last COR meeting, there have been 47 COR companies celebrating 10 years of certification, which is awesome. Again, gonna let Shelby take over here and read them out to you.
Give Keith a break for a second. So congrats to our 10-year companies. They are Access SMT Holdings Limited, Airright Inc., Airwise Inc., Ambrosi Lighting Services Limited, Ames Tile and Stone Limited, Bergen Reinforcing 2000 Inc., Bison Fire Protection Inc., Borderview Electrical Limited, C&T Rentals and Sales Limited, Colado Construction Limited, Colado Crane Rentals Limited, Canadian Quality Inspections Limited, D&D Sewer and Water Limited, Don Cullen Masonry and Tile Limited, Elite Safety Services Inc., Goodman Homes, Hamilton Iron Limited, Imperial Cabinet 1980 Co. Limited, Imperial Flooring Limited, Industrial Ventilating Contractors Limited, Irwin Homes Limited, JCV Mechanical Inc., Canpor Construction, Kindred Landscaping Inc., Crest Carpentry Inc., Liquidjet Industries, Mannington Custom Homes Limited, Mardi Enterprises, Merritt Iron Limited, Miller Paving Limited, MyTech Industry Limited, Penn4 Construction 2015 Limited Partnership, Penn Light Electrical and Mechanical Inc., Roger Branham Construction, Roofmart Prairies Limited, Rosewood Welding Inc., Scott Howard Contracting Limited, Shorty's Plumbing and Heating Inc., Standard Electrical Contractors Limited, Stankiewicz Drywall Painting and Decorating Limited, Studio Floors, and there's a numbered company, SWS Detention Group Inc., Tarcan Inc., VBG Distributors Limited, Vantage Woodwork Inc., Warkentine Homes Limited, and Wasco Constructors Inc.
Thank you very much, Shelby, for giving me that break. We have 4 companies now celebrating 20 years of certification with CSAM. So they are Black & McDonald Limited, Dirksen Plumbing and Heating, Horizon Builders Limited, McCain Electric, so operators McCain members of the Can-Aim group as well. So again, I'd just like to give a thanks and to all our 10-year core companies and obviously 20-year core companies here for maintaining the certification with us and keeping being the leaders here in safety and health overall in Manitoba. So again, congratulations on your achievements. Okay, so before we go on to new business, there's a question that came up here on which is a very great question to point out here, which I didn't mention on our advisory assigned areas, that Brandon area does have our two advisors out there right now with Delsha and Christopher Lodge Zapernick. They're the advisors in the Westman area, so they're in the Brandon area as well, moving all the way up to up north from there, and they move east towards Winnipeg to about the Portage Perry area. So again, keep that in mind if you're in the Westman area, and that the advisors are there. And like I said before, if you're not too sure, give us a call. We'll definitely be able to get the answers here for you, find which advisor is assigned to your area. Okay, new business. So we got a few things to go over on new business here today. Poll question, stop work order statistics, training standards, safety and health weeks, some upcoming training courses, regional safety training dates for Westman, and for some northern training. So we'll get right into it here for everybody. This first question, our first here is the poll question. We've had a number of companies contact us regarding receiving spam emails because their email addresses have been listed on our COR Certified Companies list on our website. The reason why we provide email addresses was for ease of communication between all our certified companies. However, we do understand that times have changed when we've done this in the past. So what we like to do here is we like to ask everyone to take a second and answer a poll question here. And the poll question is, would you like your company's email address to remain on our website under the COR Certified Companies list page? So this will be on your screen momentarily. If you can take a moment and either choose yes or no, that'd be great. And give us an answer from there. So take a second and answer that. We'll go from there. Okay, so a couple more seconds here, then we're going to continue on here. So time is up with that. What's our final marks final results are?
So it looks like we had 78% said yes and 22% said no. So I'm going to share the results to your screens now so you'll be able to see it. And 89 of our 119 current participants have answered. So that seems to be an overwhelming yes. So you want us to keep them on the page.
Okay. So everyone's spoken. Awesome.
I do see another question here before we move forward. A link to our company's website instead of an email address would be appreciated. There is an option on the COR Companies page to have your email listed. If it's not currently for your company or the information you see on that screen you would like updated or changed, please send myself an email and I can do that for you. My email is Shelby, SHELBY @constructionsafety.ca, or if you send it to our safety or any of our email addresses, we'll be able to help you out with that.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody, for that. Next, we have some stop work order statistics here. So with more on this is Sean. He's going to talk on the next couple of slides. Go ahead. Take it away, Sean.
Sean's not here. I'm just version 2.0. No, this is actually I thought this would be very interesting for everyone just to have a quick peek at. We'll show you 2013 and then the 2014, 2023 and 2024. But the top orders for stop work issued by Workplace Safety and Health: asbestos, fall protection, machine tools and robots. And this machine tools and robots is typically when somebody actually removes a guard. So these are the top three, and over the last few years, they've consistently been the top, with the exception of fall protection has normally been number one. So in 2023, asbestos took over as number one, and then 2024, asbestos will remain as the top. So this is in conjunction with, we do send out every month, we receive the serious incident reports. So I know Darren James kind of went over that a little bit, but we actually receive anything that Workplace is notified of a serious incident. We actually gather those and we provide notice to everyone that, hey, last month on a construction site in Manitoba, here are the serious incidents. And these are incidents that have or are anticipated to last more than 60 days as a lost time for an individual. So it's very good awareness, and similar to that, a stop work order from workplace safety and health is something where an officer feels that it is immediately dangerous to life and health, and you're told you got to stop work until you fix it. So this is the precursor to those serious incident reports. So this is, again, just good awareness for everybody to keep in the back of your mind. So the next slide will just show you again the current in 2024 for the first quarter, and January, February, March. We're in April, so this is to the end of March. And again, asbestos overall top, and then fall protection and machine tools is the same. The other ones kind of float back and forth, but generally you're going to see there is a fairly consistent application in terms of when a stop work order is issued to a construction company. So just good information. This will be available to you. And the intention behind this is awareness for you. And then if you need help or information, resources, tools, and or training specific to any of this, that's where you contact us and we'll be able to help. Okay. So the training standards. So this is just not a bit of a clarification, but I will clarify, and I don't see Carlos there, but I will have a conversation with Carlos. The training standards, he kept referencing at SAFEWork training standards. The training standards are actually developed by a group called Manitoba Safety and Health Training Standards Council, of which CSAM was the original partner with SAFEWork and also with the Manitoba Building Trades. And I am currently the chair of the Manitoba Safety and Health Training Standards Council. And we're tasked with the development and implementation of high hazard training standards for Manitoba. So as mentioned, there are 16 training standards, and of those, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them are the high risk, and that's working at heights, machine guarding, this access, scaffolding, and excavation, and trenching, asbestos, awareness, exposure, and abatement. So not coincidentally that the stop work orders and also the serious incidents that we do see are involved with high risk activities. And the whole purpose behind the training standards is being promoted by SAFEWork as their set brand or SAFEWork endorsed training standards. But it's Manitoba Safety and Health Training Standards Council that develops that with a big working group. There's a whole process behind it, and all of this has actually taken about 4 years to come to fruition, and it's just been launched early last year. So there's going to be a lot more to come regarding this. The training portal that they had mentioned, it's just their platform to access anybody that might be an endorsed training. I wouldn't worry about it from any person in construction, because we're going to have all the information direct via our website. So the training portal is just for other people that may not have access to an industry-based safety program like us, but it's just general awareness. And the training standards, again, it's something that is very important, and because it's a stop work order issue as well as the serious incident, I would be very, very or prepare yourself for when workplace safety and health inspectors do come on site, that they will be looking to see if your people have actually met the Manitoba Safety and Health Training Standards program and or the SET endorsed training. So that's kind of where that's at. It's something, it's a heads up, it's coming. I think it's fantastic that there's going to be quality standards and also quality providers of that. And obviously CSAM is one of those people. So that's it with the training standards. If there's any questions, happy to answer anything. And again, similar to what Keith and Shelby have been saying all along, at any point, if you have any questions regarding safety and health, obviously this is all COR certified companies. Our role is to teach you to take care of yourself, and it's super easy coming to talk to us, and we'll help you figure out what we need to do or what you need to do to satisfy any safety and health concern that you may have. That's it. Thanks, Keith, Shelby.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. All right. So next here under new business, Safety and Health Week. So mark your calendars for 2024 Safety and Health Week coming up. The Safety and Health launch was mentioned earlier by Carlos. So what it is, just so for those of you who don't know, is an annual occupation health and safety celebration led by Manitoba Safety and Health Week Planning Committee. The week is an excellent opportunity to focus and reinforce and strengthen organizations' commitment to workplace safety and health. We're excited to announce that in celebration of Safety and Health Week, we'll be hosting a series of informative webinars aimed at promoting safety and health in the workplace. These webinars are designed to provide valuable insights, practical tips, and strategies to create safer work environments for all. So on Tuesday, May 7th, we'll be hosting opioids poisoning response training. That's from Irene Bennett from St. John's Ambulance. On Wednesday, May 8th, we'll be hosting Workplace Safety and Health Stats for Construction by Marty Danielson from Workplace Safety and Health. And finally, on Thursday, May 9th, we'll be hosting How to Build a Successful Return to Work Program, hosted by Jennifer Williams and Lindsay Gilson from Workers' Compensation Board of Manitoba. So these webinars are free to attend, but registration is required. So upon registration, you will receive an email confirming, an email confirmation that includes instructions of how to join the webinar. So to secure your spots, please check out our website, and they'll be up on the home page there. So register sooner than later for these great webinars and great information. Update to our training courses here for upcoming training courses, I should say. April 29th, hazard assessment, identification, risk control in Winnipeg. Same course is April 30th in Brandon. April 30th in Winnipeg, we'll be having the Leadership for Safety Excellence course. Principles of Safety Management course will be May 21st here in Winnipeg. May 22nd, Safety Auditor in Winnipeg as well. Next hazard identification course after that will be in Winnipeg on June 5th. And then June 25th, Leadership for Safety Excellence is in Winnipeg and virtual. Okay. So with all these training, obviously, as well, and viewing the upcoming training that we do have that's not on here today, just visit our website under the training dates tab. Okay, at the bottom there, you go to see that's Construction Safety Association, constructionsafety.ca/training. Okay, save the date here for Westman Training Days. Our CSAM will be returning to Westman area with June 18th with the Safety Training Day Blitz. We're putting on a lot of great training courses, and of course our CSAM on Tour trailer will also be on site to provide free demonstrations to all attendees. Please stay tuned to our website as a full list of courses, and to register will be up there very, very soon. So very great turnout every single year. So just again, keep checking our website for this upcoming training June 18th in Brandon. Northern training will be returning to the north here shortly. CSAM will be, and we're thrilled to announce it. We're bringing back our safety training. So mark your calendars. We'll be in Thompson May 27th and 28th, and we'll be in the PAW 29th and 30th. So please join us for the opportunity to enhance your workplace safety and health training, equip your team with the latest knowledge, and network like-minded professionals. So that's a great opportunity to do that, especially if you're in these areas or in around those areas. For more information on this, please visit our website. And one more thing about this is all the training is going to be at the college or University of College of the North in both Thompson and the PAW. Okay, so and our final item today on the agenda is our next COR meeting date. So we'll be in October 2024. Haven't had this date set in stone, but as always, we will let you know closer to that date. So just keep checking our website too, or you can always ask us a question close to that date if you haven't heard as well. And one last thing, I'd like to remind everyone, if you've not already done so and you're part of this today, please put your name in full and the names of everyone else that's in the room with you on the chat, so our attendance can be your attendance can be tracked here, and we know everyone who attended. Okay, and last final reminder, I had the question come up a few other times since initially letting everyone know is the CSAM meeting and everything, this whole meeting today will be up on our YouTube page within the next 2 weeks. So please stay tuned to that. Once again, that's it for today. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody. I'd like to thank Carlos and Darren and Sean and everyone else here today with all the questions and everything. Never hesitate, always give us a call here at the Construction Safety Association of Manitoba. We work for you, we work for members. So again, thank you very much for attending today, and have a great summer.